Welcome. It's really interesting when we talk about living your passion and how to increase your income. Nick is quite rightly, I do work with a lot of figures, but I wasn't there. I came to this country, I was on the streets, so therefore I left the war in former Yugoslavia, I lost half of my family, so I went through entire emotional breakdown. So majority of you most likely know what it is like to be in that space where you've lost something in your life. So when I came to England, I had nobody, I could not speak English, I wasn't confident, I wasn't a coach, I didn't have a life, I didn't have friends, and I did not have money. So as Nick said, it's not really about the figures, it's about really understanding the value that we have. So most of us, we pick up those values at a very, very young age. But the problem is, we never question them back. Our body, it's a memory bank. Just the way the laptop over there has a lot of information, our body holds all of this information. How do we truly go back and really understand our own value when it comes to actually setting up your own coaching practice? So the figures, we will talk about it later on, the figures and how you can increase that. But the first question I would ask you right now to ask yourself, how much do I truly know myself? How much do I truly see the journey I have gone through for you guys to be in those seats? Nick mentioned earlier on about how much do we invest in ourselves. And the investment in ourselves is not just about money. Everything you have done, it's an investment in you. Every experience you have, it created value inside of you. So how do you really bring all of that value into something that you can actually package? So when you meet a client, you can ask anything you want. Without the fear of saying how much I'm going to charge. So what is really value? Value is, I would say to you, everything you are right now, it's operated through value. So it's almost like an operating system sits in there working. We do have our subconscious beliefs and we have our conscious awareness. Both of them together, they operate through the value. So for one of the wonderful things, when I went through a research of I worked with some of the top coaches and healers around the world to bring myself to a balanced state. I went to Mahatma Gandhi and read quite a lot about that. So it's amazing at that stage, he came up with this statement. Your beliefs become your thoughts. I can guarantee all of you know that. But how many of you are congruent with that in yourselves? How many of you actually question back the beliefs that we picked up without saying it's right or wrong? Because we tend to hold on to beliefs. It's almost like our identity. So when we argue about a point, it's driven by your beliefs, it's driven by your values, it's driven by the filters that we all learn in the coaching industry. So when you go through your coaching experience with Nick, when I started at the Animas Institute, it was actually learning about myself, although I've done that journey for almost 20 years. Your thoughts become your words. A lot of you have a lot of thoughts. On daily, we think between 60,000 to 120,000. Depends how much you do, how much you read, and how much active you are. Then those words become our actions. But we never go back and actually saying, what do my actions say about me? So from the moment we wake up in the morning, we have routines. We create a lot of routines. So how do our actions and really talk to ourselves about what we value? So we create a lot of habits. One of them would be, we are always busy on our phones. You can go into any coffee shop nowadays, and everybody is busy with their phones, but nobody is talking. And that really saddens me sometimes, because I grew up in a culture where basically we did not have technology, but we actually talk. I almost know 20,000 people in my town in Macedonia. And in London, I live in a block of flats, and I only know 5 people. For 9 years, when I used to work in the technology sector, I took exactly the same tube every morning at 7:30. I saw exactly the same people. They would look at me, I'm from a different planet, when I would smile. So I'm sure you all have that. And then we look at the habits and how our habits become our values. And they're so interlinked, unbelievably interlinked in ourselves. We really are connected with that. And eventually, that becomes your destiny. And then we end up in a space where basically we feel insecure. Because most of our lives, we tend to live through other people's values. And the biggest influence in our life is our family structure, our culture where we're brought up, the religion that we're in, the people we associate ourselves, the thoughts that we have, the things that we've read. But what is your own true value? What if you strip all of those layers? Who are you? It was the journey I had to go through for many years to actually really come up to really write about Path to Wisdom. What is it really that brings us back into balance? Because definitely I can guarantee you it's not the money. And I'm sure a lot of people in here, whether you're making money or not, it's not going to make you happy. So what is it about you to really become healthy in the way you are? And what is it about that brings that peaceful life? That on a daily basis, permanent basis, you are at peace with yourself. Every client that I work with, they seek this from me, to help them through that journey. Every conversation I have with my clients, it's actually related to one of those, if I really speak to them properly and go deeper. So your core values underpin the way in which you behave, act, and how you live your life. So therefore, if you guys want to become top coaches and charge whatever you want, you really need to go back and really understand what is valuable to you. Because some of you, I heard the lady over there is having a baby and struggling the family life with family life and the business life. So how do you really create that balance between having a baby and wanting to be a coach and running your business? Some of you might be still working, but they actually want to transition into a full-time coach. And then we're looking at all the fears and all the doubts and everything that prevents us from really living our true value. Until you get in touch with your true value, you will not live your passion. You will live in fear. It's this space that Nick provides. I actually adore Nick, and I told him when I met him first time. Because it's not about me, it's not about Nick, it's not about you guys. It's about each one of you delivers value to anybody who's associated with you. Anybody. Whether you're a mom, whether you're a friend, whether you're a business owner, whether you're anything else. Wherever we go, we create value. The speakers earlier on, Catherine, and we had Sonia, and then we have Polly. All of them created value. So just listening to them, we actually really tapped into their center, and they're speaking from their heart what they do. So it's actually, even Nick said to me outside, a lot of people are tapping into their hearts. Because when we are tapped into the heart, we actually radiate love. So wherever we go, our presence will create that. Your clients will see that. So how much do you honestly value yourself? That's a question for you guys to really think about this. Because it is a direct reflection in the way you live your lives. For anybody who knows me personally, I've gone through a massive journey of actually understanding the inner world. I studied science. I studied engineering. I studied the Bible. I studied the Muslim religion. I studied Kabbalah. I studied Buddhism. All of them, if you strip everything out, talk about the inner world, including quantum physics. So if I want to remove myself where I am right now and I want to create a different environment, let's say I'm at work and I want to become a full-time coach, I really need to understand the inner game inside of me, what truly prevents me from making that step of faith. And usually it will be associated to some form of fear. But we as coaches know better than that, because we help clients overcome their fears. So really we need to understand ourselves. How much do you honestly value yourself? Because in that worthiness of self, you will increase that, I would say, by 1,000 once you tap in yourself. Because there's no one on this world more worthy than you. Not even your children. For moms out there. Because when you are in that space, your child will be elevated to being exactly the same space. So therefore you create, you provide nurturing, first of all, of yourself and anybody who is in your space. So personal value. So your personal worth, it's really what determines the way you experience your life and the way, as a coach, you will actually start packaging yourself or sell yourself. Until I tapped into my personal worth, I used to charge, first of all, before I came to Sydney, I used to do everything for free. Because I had an IT job, so coaching was something I did on site. So therefore my main income stream was my IT world. But in the IT world, I learned quite a lot about the corporate environment. So my last project was a multi-billion-pound project and 40 people I had to manage. And I had to manage different cultures, different mindsets, different people. And one thing I was employed for, not because I had the best IT qualities, but I knew how to get to people. I knew how to talk to people at a heart level. So when you get tapped into that personal worth, as a coach, when I approached Nick, I already knew what I've done. I've done cognitive behavior therapy, I've done the NLP, and I did coaching a long time ago. I wanted to up-to-date qualification, and I was ready to deliver value to the world. The value I was giving in the corporate world was so much less than what I knew, that voice inside of me. I came into this planet to do bigger things. My emotional stuff, I talk about it in the book, about how I went from zero to hero. There's no secret. All of you know yourself better than anybody else. So therefore it's about really bringing you that and knowing your personal worth. So what are you truly worth? The question that Nick earlier said, to actually really understand what you're truly worth, I would truly suggest sit down and write down how much you have spent on yourself. And be as honest as you can. Meaning all of your education, any coaches you've paid, any therapists that you've paid, any holidays that you've been, anything that created value for you guys. Sit down and make and create a figure. When I did this exercise, I actually spent £1 million in my personal development. My mother was the first one to tell me that I had not achieved anything. Because in my mom's value system, it's about having a big penthouse, it's about having a big house, it's about having 5 kids, and literally having a name that my father had. So I invested a lot in my worth. During that time, my own family did not believe in my work. But when I published my book, and now my book is being sold around the world, everybody's coming back to me and I'm their hero. But I spent 10 years not being that hero. I spent 10 years dealing with completely being disassociated because I was called nuts. Because they did not value education. My first coach, which I paid very highly and what I actually now charge, was John DeMartini. When I met John DeMartini, it was a man that actually resonated and I loved instantly. The moment I met this guy, I said, this is the guy I want to experience his coaching with. Because it resonated with me, because I had done quite a lot of healing work and spiritual work, so I wanted to combine the two. The Western psychology, Eastern methodologies together, because we are the two. We cannot be separate. We're not just the mind. So you as coaches actually can go beyond that. You can incorporate that totally into the stuff, into adding value. As a mother, I mean, there are many mothers out there who need to juggle that. You can actually create a business specifically. You can actually focus and niche yourself into that. A lot of people don't know what you guys know. So any coaching session that you do, you need to go with full confidence about knowing your value. So what is your time worth? Most of us, we don't really know that. Because when I started back in 2009, after I was made redundant, I did not know how much to charge. I haven't seen Nick at that point. I didn't really know many coaches at that point. I didn't really know what it is like to run my own business. I did know how to run restaurants because I come from a restaurant business. But I had products in there. I had bread to sell. I had salads to sell. I did not know how to sell me. So I had to go through that journey of really truly understanding the value I have in myself. I'm extremely educated. On top of all of my IT and degree and everything else, I actually spent a lot of money in a lot of workshops learning from some of the top people in their game. And I was absorbing like a sponge. But there's also the fear in there. When you know so much, you also go really crumble down. So you have all of that to go through. So what is your time worth? It made me realize any person who actually comes into my coaching session, by default, they get £1 million value. By default, they get my entire wisdom, including technology, including business, including cultural, including 5 different religions. I can be somebody's rabbi, I can be somebody's pope, I can be somebody's Muslim priest, I can be somebody's coach, therapist, all of those. And I said, how much is really this worth? And it came as a figure as billions. So it was this quantum awakening in myself that basically I'm not bound by a paycheck. My last paycheck in the corporate world was £85,000. So when I did that value exercise that I'm asking you guys to do, if you want to really, really embody you as a coach, is I asked myself how much really value I've created for these people. In my last job, I was in charge of £8.7 billion project. So they paid me £85,000. When I put the percentage of it, I said, they're not going to employ me if they don't know I'm creating at least £10 million value, at least. So if I can do 10 million for them, what can I do for me? What can I do for people I work with? What can I really truly bring? So when you know your self-worthiness, you can actually, every client who comes into a coaching session, you will learn how to communicate through their values. So your internal value, it's a navigation system which determines whether you agree or disagree with something. It's extremely important for you to go back and learn this. How many of you drive cars in here? Okay, let's imagine for a second that you guys bought your top-of-the-range car. You became a successful coach. And I would like you to imagine the journey. You go in the shop and you buy your best car and you start driving it. And you are totally exhilarated with the feeling. Wherever you want to go, whatever you want to shout, whatever music you want to put in. And there's an obstacle comes instantly in front of you and you try to brake. And the brakes don't work. Can you imagine what happens to you in that moment? You have the fear, you have the panic, you get the anger, you get the frustration, you get everything. And you ask yourself, why didn't I not even check the brake? Or I paid so much money for a car that does not even have brake. But how many of us do we truly know how to have those brakes in ourselves? When it comes to any of the stuff that really truly prevents us from getting to know ourselves and being in our center. Learn your own navigation system. And if it does not work, upgrade it. There's the latest navigation systems out there. There's a lot of wisdom, as Nick and everybody else. We live in a world where basically you can go on Google and find anything. Nick has a special area in his website where he shares a lot of wisdom and a lot of stuff. Use them, guys. And as Holly said, there's plenty of people around here. We actually see each other, but do we truly connect? There's plenty of coaches who've gone through the Animas Institute. Nick mentioned also, all of us, we have different skills and value generation system. So if you want to build a coaching practice, make sure utilize those partnerships to the maximums. Meet people for coffee, have a chat. I built my business through that. So, how do you value your work? Any takers in here? Who would like to answer? Silence. Well, silence is a good teacher. I love silence, no problem. So to value our work, really, we need to value ourselves. It's nothing complicated. You know, I love what Nick earlier on said. If something distracts you, ignore it. You don't really need to go and work it out. Focus that time to really look at the bigger picture. At the bigger picture, when I was a kid, I actually wanted to heal the planet. And I wanted to be a spaceship captain, and I wanted to be an engineer. I've become all of those. So therefore, the bigger vision for me is actually presenting and doing work with leaders around the world and influencers around the world to really raise their conscious awareness so they can bring that into business. So when you value your work, the roads will just open up. As Nick mentioned, you don't become the key, you are the door. Actually, you're not the door, you're the whole portal. So, do you know the difference between uncut versus cut diamond?
One is the rough thing that you've got from an ore, and the other one is after it's gone through.
Absolutely, but imagine people who pick up a rough diamond, they don't really know what diamond is. You are, guys, each one of those, you are that diamond. You just need to be nicely polished and become diamonds. Because I do believe in Animas, and I do believe in every coach, and I do believe in every person on the planet, because each one of us are authentic in what we deliver. Nobody has empowered us to really tap into that authenticity. And I personally do not work in the model of the corporate world where I need to do SWOT analysis. And I teach now the corporate world to escape from that level of competition. So no one is your competition. Just get rid of that idea from today. You are unique, you are authentic, and each one of you have a unique space and a unique place on this planet. So imagine a big picture like that one. Each one of us, it's a dot. One dot from that picture, it won't be the same picture. So each one of you has a unique skill and unique gift. Tap into that, and you'll become that diamond that everybody wants to be around, and anybody will pay any money to be there. So, one of the stuff which helped me really go from a coach who charges no money to coach to charging 500 or 1,000 per hour, it's about understanding my self-worth. So depend who I actually talk to and who it is, I actually have a different model of that. But the first thing I change in my coaching practice, I do not give free consultation. That was number one change which I adopted. It's a brilliant filtering system. Once you know who you are and you're offering, whether you're doing a packaged offer or whether you're actually doing a yearly program, with me I do a yearly program of 12 weeks. You will actually see how your net worth increases. But you need to believe that in your heart that the value you're delivering is much more. So any CEO who works with me, they know they pay, let's say, a client who pays 20K, they know they get at least 100 or 500K out of me. They know it. They know it in the first 2 hours of consultation. So like Catherine said, I do not sell. In any of my consultations, I probably don't even follow most of the coaching stuff because I'm beyond coaching. I've incorporated everything into what I give. I consider myself as a teacher, and I consider myself as more than just a coach. And each one of you are more than a coach. Coaching is just one thing that you bring in the coaching, and we have rules, and we become an observers, and then we enable people to really see in themselves what they have. For me, coaching is about simply being a mirror, nothing more. And when we learn that, we let the person from that mirror self-reflect and really tap into their self-worthiness, so therefore they can increase their capacity to earn anything they wish to earn, and being able to make the decision to move from a corporate world into running your own coaching practice. So when we look at one of the methodologies, which my methodology in my book, I talk about 5 key steps. But each step is actually 5 steps on its own. So this is like I cut down the wisdom that I've collected over almost 25 years into one book, and it was extremely difficult to do that. But one of the steps is about results. So how do we truly create the results that we want? And then how do we truly create results for our clients? One of the things I've become extremely good at, listening. So, first step where I look at, I've coached now almost 10,000 hours with different clients, that people tell you reasons. And we also tell ourselves reasons. In just that step, if you actually really work from a value-based coaching, you will find out what these people are valuing. And then you will learn how to communicate with your clients through the values, and you will see what reasons they come up to you. The next thing is basically, they're also telling you what are they resisting. If you truly listen properly, they will tell you exactly what they're resisting. It could be a fear. I coached one of the top, I would say, she runs a huge business, and she's very much passionate about E-Academy, and she's the founder of that. And I looked at her, where she wanted to take her business. At the bottom of that was fear. The resistance she was giving herself is because her values were compromised. She had two values, two things that she valued, but they were compromised. One was about her family, and the other one was the business. She both valued equally. So when we look at behind what it was, the resistance, at the bottom of the line, she did not want to become an international speaker because she did not want to have time away from her children. That's what was really stopping her at the resistance. And it was that awakening for her to really understand what she values more. Or can you actually juggle two values, being a mother and being a coach? And then, what can we do when actually I take people through that step? It's actually I bring them into a space where they can repeat an action that they've already passed. Once you start repeating an action, like I'm sure all of our speakers over there, when we started speaking for the first time, we had our own fears, sitting and speaking to all of you guys. Is, you know, we don't just become confident coaches. We need to go and do things. And then I always reward myself. And I also tell clients, reward yourself for the things you do on a daily basis. Most of you are most likely having so many tasks and so many do's on a daily basis, but how much you truly give yourself 10 minutes, 15 minutes, where you simply shut down the noise. You shut down yourself from the entire environment. Then for sure you will create results. So you will see the kind of results which are. So, become holistic in your approach. For most of you, most likely, in some part of your lives, you actually already incorporated holistic approach. Bring that into your coaching. You know, people love that nowadays. Anybody you approach through love, they will respond to you through love. Everybody you approach with an ego, they'll come back to you with an ego. So when you experience a difficult client, go back and ask the question, what am I experiencing? What is it that brought that energy from you? So you can actually very easily bring your life into balance through knowing your values, through listening to your values, and remaining congruent with those values in your day-to-day living. Not just in your coaching practice, but in yourself. Because when we honor that to ourselves, we actually tell ourselves, I love you. And I'm not sure about you guys, but I was not taught to love myself. I was taught to love others. So therefore, it took me a long journey to be able for me to stand here with huge confidence and a lot of love for each one of you to actually share that love. But it wasn't that. If you met me 10, 15 years ago, I was in a lot of pain. So balance yourself through your values and believe in your value. Because one thing is saying, I know my value, and there's a different thing where your entire body resonates with that value. So therefore your vibration, your energy, wherever you go, it resonates that. So when you sit down with a coaching client, this coaching client will look at you, although you haven't spoken, the energy you send, he will pick it up. Most of us have not been trained into understanding communication beyond speaking or beyond our senses. But for any of you who are interested, I can direct you in the right place, and you can private message me. Because our energy, wherever we go, we create an energy. This room, each one of us have brought our own energy in here. Each one of us have brought our entire life with us. No matter what masks we put on, we bring everything with ourselves in this room. So therefore, when we bring everything ourselves in this room, it's the inner process that will help you to become clear. It's the inner process that will help you to become light. And therefore, with that light, you can shine from within and your heart will open up. And when your heart is open, you have no fear. You'll deliver tremendous value to anybody who's near you. So, the method which I've designed in my book is actually 5 steps. And those are the 5 steps that took me 25 years to truly understand who am I. And I'm still learning about myself. So one thing I loved about Nick is the fact that he questions and everything. So when our path crossed, you can challenge me with anything. And I'll give you my thoughts, no problem, but I also respect yours. We might agree, disagree, that's okay. But actually getting back into knowing yourself. So the first step is about acknowledgement. Most people take the words as words. So acknowledgement is when we truly acknowledge the internal workings of our body, and we actually have depth into that, not just width. And when we take action of that, then we are truly in that space of acknowledgement. So I did really talk about it in a big thing, but for me to be able to really create the value and the things that I give now to businesses, CEOs, leaders, MPs, celebrities, coaches, therapists, doctors, I have a whole range of clients. I really thought, what is it all these people have in common? And what is it that destabilized me? What was the structure that destabilized me? So when we truly acknowledge what's happening in ourselves, and then we take action on it, then we're actually in that space of acknowledgement. But there are so many things on a daily basis we do and we don't truly acknowledge. So the next step, I said, okay, once I really acknowledge everything about me, every problem, every emotion, every thought, every belief, and working with a lot of people to be my mirror, to reflect at me, who am I? What really drives me? My heart drives me. Always has, always will be. But the problem with that is, how many of you have been in love? How many of you had your hearts broken? So, when you have your heart broken, do not let your heart to lead you. It will cause you a lot of pain. Bring yourself to a space where basically you heal yourself and heal your heart, so therefore that energy resonates very clearly. So there's a whole process behind that love pillar that I have in there that is also designed how to take people from lack of self-worthiness to truly loving and honoring themselves. The next part is basically we're all here to do something, we're all here to achieve something. Your clients are the same. They want some form of achievements. So for you to be able to establish what they need to achieve, it's about really, I went through understanding how do we really achieve. And I speak quite a lot about in more depth in my book. Then we're looking about, we're all here to create some form of results. Whether it's personal, business, family, children, whatever. And then how do we enter that space where everything becomes effortless, everything becomes miracles? So now I live in that space. I create opportunities. I'll be talking at Voice of America with active listeners, almost 10.5 million people when I come back from my trip from Israel. So when I really understood my own self-worthiness, I've opened up so many doors. I'm just like a gateway to the universe. And what Holly said earlier on and everything else is about really building those partnerships. I don't meet anybody with an agenda. I'm just present. And let the opportunity come to you. And at the center of this, if you imagine like a Greek structure with 5 pillars, and you have a structure in there that actually gives you clarity. When we have clarity in what we do, we can create tremendous values for people. Because you'll be able to see what they cannot see. And you'll be able to take them on that space. To the right questioning, to the right methods. So, when we have a purpose, it will open up also many doors for you, and you remain extremely focused because you want to deliver that purpose, and then you have a vision. One of the stuff is, a lot of people said to me, did you always know who you are? The truth is, actually I did when I was a kid. I used to look at sick people, and I used to say, I want to heal these people. I used to repair TVs and radios at the age of 7, and never been to an engineering school. So I always knew when I used to look at people, I also look at my environment in Macedonia, I knew I do not belong here. Also, you know, I was taught by my parents that a bird brought me into this life, not my parents. So when I learned biology, I actually went, wow, my parents lie. So I learned that parents do lie as well. So, let your inner sparkle shine. Because when you shine, anyone around you will shine. Or they might just be able to see their own road. So, be of value to your customers. It's extremely important whenever you meet somebody, be of value. Because that's what we are. Learn to communicate through your clients' values. This is extremely important, guys, if you really want to become excellent at what you do. In everything a client communicates to you, they are communicating their values. So when you learn that, you open up millions of doors. Also, in response to them, communicate the benefit they will get. Because most people do not really know the benefit they will get through going with you for 12 weeks, a year, 6 weeks, whatever it might be. So, respond to their need. Listen very carefully what the clients will say and go. So the structure to succeed is introduce consultation rates. When I did that, I actually literally filtered a whole range of clients I did not want to work. But I was afraid, saying I will not have enough clients. So it's sort of, I charge 500 quid for 2-hour consultation, and that gives me access to the people and the clients I can serve best. Introduce a program, or sell your coaching package as a package, including other things. I've actually partnered up with a lot of people, including social media people, where basically when I coach somebody, so if they're a business owner and they actually have identified their need for social media, straight away I sell them the next app. So it's not just about you. Think about who you can also promote. When I go into a networking environment, I do not talk about myself. I talk about all the partners that I have. I've sent Nick quite a few people. I've sent KPI people, quite a lot of people. Sonia, you went to KPI. So it's about, really, it's not about you. But believe me, a lot of people came to me as a result. But I did not do that intentionally because I wanted something from these people. So my 7 healthy seeds, it's about trust. You need to come to that space where you truly trust yourself. So therefore, with trust, you establish instantly the moment you go into that consultation. I think Catherine mentioned emotional intelligence. Believe me, emotional intelligence, I've studied Daniel Goleman. I'm not sure how many of you read Daniel Goleman's stuff, but really going through the process of understanding your emotions. Your emotions will never leave you, so therefore learn for them to be your teachers. And become authentic. The way you see me on here, it's the way I'm as a friend, the way I am as a brother, as a partner, whatever. I'm Tony. So therefore I incorporated all my identities to be me. Love. Always operate from a center of love. And if you're not there, do something about it. Then communication. It's extremely important when you communicate. And not just the way we speak. Because I could slow down. And I could go very fast. But everything about me communicates to you guys. And then develop your intuition. We are born with an intuition. Most of us, because of the noise that we have, we cannot access something which is innate within ourselves. And connection. How do you connect with yourself and how do you connect with everybody else truly matters for you to really be excellent in what you do. Any questions?
We're doing Q&A now, Tony. So.
Q&A, okay? And then I shall thank you. And then living your values is the secret to happiness. So if you guys want to...